What if I told you that you didn't have to wait another 8 years, or however many years you've been podcasting, to get 8 years worth of podcast lessons? In today's episode, I'm going to talk all about that. 8 years of podcast lessons in 8 minutes. Podcast Growth Nation, welcome back to another episode. Today, for episode number 143, as you just heard, 8 years of podcast lessons in 8 minutes. So I am literally going to take my timer here, and I'm going to set a timer for 8 minutes, and we're off to the races. Boom. There we go. All right. Number one, creativity matters so much more than anyone ever tells you. Again, I know a lot of us start out and we start a podcast and we think, all right, I'm going to do it the same way this person's doing it, the same way this other person is doing it. And then maybe down the line, you realize that the way you're doing it is better for you. Again, I never knew that our business was going to end up being the business that it is. But so much of that has come from creativity. We would not be a very successful business if we just tried to do it the way everybody else was doing it. I'm not saying you can't, but there is something to the creativity. There is something to thinking outside the box. There is something to trying to do something in a different way than anybody else. And I think that's something that differentiates you that is worth leaning into. And I can tell you with certainty, I wouldn't be 2,000 episodes in if I wasn't creative, because we would have died a long time ago. Number two, the bare minimum is never enough long term, but it is great to start. I was on a podcast the other day, and we were talking about podcasting. And I said, it's interesting because somebody might be 100 episodes in, and maybe they have the same intro and they have the same outro and they have the same artwork and they're doing the same exact thing that they were doing. There's a lot of opportunity for growth, but it has to be intentional. That's a really big piece of it. Number three, and this is one that I wish I learned sooner. Podcast success is way more than just this. There is so much more behind the scenes. There's so much more that happens before this, after this, social media, building a list, products and services, offers, all that stuff. Again, if you're really trying to turn your podcast into a business, this is only 1/8 of what you're going to do. This episode is going to be 8 minutes. Then what has to happen? Well, this episode gets edited and there's social media stuff and YouTube and thumbnail and show notes and all that stuff. This part, I'm not saying is the easy part, because in the beginning it definitely was the hardest part. But this part might require the least amount of time, this speaking into a microphone, but the rest of it is really challenging. Next lesson, and this is a new one because of the landscape of podcasting. I don't think having guests on does what it used to. Again, in the early days, quote unquote, for me at least, 2017, 2018, 2019, there was a lot more results when you had guests on, especially big guests. Now, almost all of these people have their own podcasts, potentially. They've been on a bunch of other shows, so there isn't the same level of novelty. Oh, I got to tune in because I'm going to hear this person go in depth about their story for the first time. It doesn't necessarily work like that anymore. It doesn't necessarily work in the way that it used to.
Next Level University and Kevin is exactly where you need to be if you're a podcaster. When I first started out just a few months ago, I had no clue on the direction I was going. I was getting hustled by another company that was giving me not even close to the value that Kevin and Next Level U was giving me. They literally changed the trajectory of my podcast, have helped me out tremendously. They understand the clients. I promise you, you will not go wrong with dealing with Kevin and Next Level U. I'll see you there.
Next one. And this one's super important. Personality goes a long way. Creativity, we talked about at the beginning. Personality, being a good interviewer, setting yourself apart from other podcasters. Again, going back to a previous episode, podcasting is not as saturated as many people think, but you can do a lot of different things to set yourself apart. And I think that creativity is going to be one of them, right? That's going to be it. But what is your differentiator? Is it asking great questions? Do you have a certain question you ask every guest? Is your personality bubbly and attractive to people? Do you connect well? Are you really good at marketing? Are you really good at social media? Do you have a super specific niche? That is something that just has to be thought of, right? It just has to be. It has to be thought of, because if you're in a niche or a category that has a lot of other people in it, I'm not saying you can't win, but it just makes it different. You have to have some level of personality. And I think that's what audience is going to resonate with. That's what certain guests are going to resonate with. So that is a huge part of it. Another one is trying to stay caught up with what's going on in the industry. So again, algorithms change all the time, especially on social media. What works right now on YouTube? What is Spotify looking for? What is Apple looking for? You don't have to do as much research as maybe me, someone who has a podcast about podcasts, does. But if you're looking to buy a new car, you do research on how's the market doing. Are there any predictions in the drops, or is the price going to go up? Real estate, same thing. I mean, even if you're just looking for a house, you're going to look at what's the property tax in this spot? Are the interest rates going up or down? All of that stuff. I think it's the same when you have a podcast. You want to know what's working and what's not working, and where's the industry going? Is it video working? Is audio's here to stay? There's so many lessons from doing that research, and that's definitely something that I didn't do enough of in the beginning. I do a lot of research now because I coach a lot of people, so I have to know what's going on. But in the beginning, when I was purely just a podcaster trying to grow, I didn't do nearly enough research on the industry and what was happening. Another lesson, community is getting more and more and more valuable by the day. AI is shifting a lot, and I mean, a lot. It's shifting a lot in terms of how much it's shifting, and it's shifting a lot in terms of what it's actually shifting. But the one thing that AI is not really going to be able to do, like you or I, is build and add value to a community. So communities are becoming the thing. And it's kind of always been that way, right? If you have a large followership, you can probably translate that to a community. But just getting away from, I'm going to do an episode, I'm going to get paid for however many listens or views I get, and then I'm done. It's not going to work like that for most people. I'm working with a YouTube channel right now that has gotten, I don't know how many it is. Let's say it's 200,000 views over the last 28 days. Yes, there's money involved in that, right? But there's way more money, there's way more impact, and there's way more lessons if you have a community, because you can actually talk to people directly. And you've heard me say self-identify how many times on this podcast. So we have to figure out a way to get people to self-identify, and then we really want to focus on building a community. Oh my goodness, I have 30 seconds left. What's one more? Last one. Almost, and again, this is my experience, almost nothing will do exactly what you think it will do, but it will do things differently than you expected. I've been on a lot of podcasts, and I thought that was going to be something completely different than it's been, but it's still very worth doing. So maybe some of the things that you don't know if they're worth doing will end up being way more worth doing, just in a different way. And look at that. 8 minutes. Cool. That's it. I'm going to leave because I said 8 minutes and I don't want to make this episode longer. Maybe I'll do another. Maybe I'll do another one of these in the future. But as always, if you're interested in a podcast breakthrough session, I'll have the link in the show notes. Group coaching for podcasters starts April 15th, 2025. With the payment plan, I think it's $147 a month. So $147, and you get 4 calls per month. It's a bargain at twice the price, I would say. And I hope you're feeling good about podcasting. I hope you're dialed in. I hope you're tracking your listens, and I hope you took something away from 8 years of podcast lessons in 8 minutes. I will talk to you all next week.